The best synthesizer of 2023 has finally been released, Synplant 2 by Sonic Charge. I've been waiting for this plugin for a long time and felt really hyped, which is rare, I tell you. You know, I'm not uploading a video on every new release. Sometimes I'm just uploading them a little bit low-key because I just want to do something, but it's rarely that I'm really hyped about a plugin. But this time I was, because this plugin comes with an innovative new feature that I just need to check out. I have so many ideas what I want to do with it. Of course, I'm talking about the Genopatch feature, but before diving into it, I will show you a little bit about the plugin in general. Today we are working with this beat. And here is my Synplant patch, which currently plays the same melody. So the concept of Synplant is to embrace randomization in creative ways, but also in controlled ways. Let me show you what I mean. When you right click on the big seed, you can say new random seed and it will come up with a new preset. So let's hear how this one sounds. As you can hear, this sounds quite harmonic. This is already the first peculiarity about Synplant 2. Most plugins that let you randomize stuff sound pretty chaotic when you do that. But Sonic Charge probably spent a lot of time making sure that this randomizer is not a real randomizer, but actually always tries to come up with something useful. So let's randomize again. I mean, this one is quite unusual, but you can still hear the tonality and all that. Oh sweet, this sounds quite springy. Okay, that's kinda cute, kind of a bell tone. This might sound cool together with my other sound. Now here's the first thing that kind of felt a little bit odd to me, which is that there is no global master volume control on the interface. However, you can just select one of the branches, right click and say edit branch volume, and then edit the branches volumes like individually. I would say the workflow could be improved a little bit because, as you can see, sometimes I misclick and accidentally change the branch behind it, even though I clearly want to edit the volume here. So it's kind of fiddly. So now I can actually use my mixer to control the volume, which I find nicer. It gives me a little bit more headroom to work with. Now, one of the main features of Synplant 2 is that at all times you get 12 random presets that are relative from the current preset. You kinda dive into them by dragging out the branches. So each note has its own branch. For example, here it kinda evolved into a patch that doesn't sound a lot like bells anymore. And here, at least halfway through, it evolved into a patch that has a little bit more of an aggressive bell, something that kind of pokes through the mix a little bit better. So now I could just say, okay, I want this to be the main branch, so the main seed. Clone selected branch, and now we have a new patch that is based on this sound. I want to show you some more features. For example, the mod wheel feature. Usually mod wheel is just a MIDI message and you can use your master keyboard to dial in the mod wheel. But the cool thing is it is also a parameter in this plugin, which at least I find pretty cool because I'm more of a parameter person. I don't use my keyboard a lot. Now you can try different amounts of mod wheel without having to use your keyboard. Yeah, so every pitch class sounds a little bit different due to the random nature of this plugin. What I don't get yet is why now the way it evolves into different sounds is pretty similar after I have cloned the patch. I thought that it would be going crazy all over again. I think that's also possible, but I would have to spend some more time with this plugin to find out how. Anyway, the next big feature that I want to talk about is atonality. If you turn it down, you get very straight sounds. but the more you turn it up, the more each pitch class sounds a little bit warbled. And it's kind of cool when it's just used very subtly. It's similar to a vibrato, but instead of processing the entire signal, it processes each voice individually, which just has a more natural feel to it in my opinion. I think more plugins in general should have a feature that works somewhat like this. It doesn't have to have the same aesthetic, but this idea that a plugin automatically has some alternative patches and you can try different ones of them, I just really like that. That's something that I have been waiting for. I didn't have Synplant 1, I knew it from friends, but I haven't used it in a long time. And I was waiting for Synplant 2 to finally be able to use it again. And now it's there and yeah, I'm really happy. But let's finally talk about the big new feature. Genopatch, and I prepared some use cases that I came up with during the day while I was conceptualizing this video. So Genopatch lets you import samples and then it will come up with a lot of patches that have a similar sound as the sample that you import, and that way you can basically make synthesizer sounds from samples, which is pretty cool and different from just using a sampler, of course, because you can always dive into the actual parameters and tweak the patches, which is something that you cannot do in a sampler. That's what makes this feature so incredible. And of course you can just use the randomization features of the main page as well. So the first thing that I had in mind was the question, can you use this for layering? And in order to find out, I will just take the sound that I already have, bounce it into a new audio track. And now let's say I want to have a layer that is maximizing its impact on the first hit immediately. So just this hit. I would bounce this hit alone so that the audio file isn't longer than that, and then open the audio editor so that I can drag this out into the plugin, open Genopatch and drag and drop. Now Genopatch lets me select what part of the signal I wanna use. So I will just select the part of the signal that actually has sound. We can preview the sound and then we can let it generate patches. Man, oh man, this interface is so pretty and so impressive. I mean, this is some sort of neural network thing and I just love how you can see how it tries different routes. Like sometimes it works on one of these things and then it just decides to work on a different thing to try other stuff, and then it comes back to this thing. It changes its direction in mysterious ways and you can really see how complex it is. I would love to know what this path even visualizes. Well, whatever, let's try some sounds. Okay, let's just play back the melody while we're trying the different sounds. Okay, I really like this one. This has sort of a speedy vibe to it, like some sort of cyberpunk stuff. And we now got the sound, can remove the sample again and just enjoy how this works together with my other sound. Cool, I love how it adds some atonality to it. Okay, right now I'm just wondering why I cannot turn down individual branches. Oh, now I can. Huh. Yeah, I really get into the habit of this workflow. Okay, it's kind of cool to have this a little bit more wet so that we can actually mix it with a mostly dry signal better. I think this part needs some more work, but in a different direction. I think what's really needed in this part is more drums. Which brings me to my next point. I wanted to find out if we can use this synthesizer as a drum synthesizer as well. So here I have a section of the beat that plays some aim breaks. Especially this part at the end is interesting. Let's stick them all together so that I can bounce this. And now it's time to import the snares. It would be cool if the reference sound playback had a loop feature. Let's go. Okay, I could already hear the resemblance of these snares, so let's take our Synplant track back to the part that we were working on, because I kind of want to have this sound referencing something that will happen in the future, if that makes sense. And now we need some notes that would kind of make sense. Boom, 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 boom. That sounds like a rhythm that could be looped nicely here. Now we just need to find different sounds. Okay, I really like this one. It doesn't sound a lot like the snares anymore, but I kind of like the vibe of it. Okay, crazy. Now I had something else in mind. I kind of want to randomize the notes, or maybe I should just not randomize them, but be specific about it. Oh, this one sounds like a snare. Okay, cool. Let's try to come up with a nice sequence. Alright, I think it's time to listen to this together with a kick. Oh, sweet, sweet, sweet. It's a little bit much now, all of these sounds at the same time, so this really needs some fine tuning, but I can see where this is going already. Example here, I could make it a little bit more sane, adding a note receiver that comes from the kick and my ADSR plugin to make sure that Synplant goes out of the way when the kick comes. Sweet. Maybe a little bit of soothing on these harsher frequencies. Maybe a little bit of saturation. And when I say a little, of course, I mean a lot. Sweet. So yeah, I could go on like this forever. At some point I could just bounce the audio into a new track and only select the best parts. I think that's what I'm going to do with this track later. But first of all, I want to go on with the next idea that I had, which was to actually use this as a vocal synthesizer. In order to do that, I will make a new track, test, and just record myself singing a note. Hoo, hoo. It's a little bit breathy, maybe some OTT to make it even more breathy. Sweet. Now it's time to add another instance of Synplant. Add the melodies again. I know at some point it might make sense to just come up with individual melodies for all of these different voices, but I want to keep it simple for this video. So Genopatch, vocal input, generate. Alright, we got all the sounds. Damn. Oh man, there are so many great sounds. I actually don't even wanna take a sound that sounds close to the sound that I imported, but still. I can hear how this is different. And I can at the same time hear how it's similar. It's crazy. So my favorites are this one and... But let's actually try a new feature. I didn't try this thing yet. Evolve from patch, okay. So this just creates like a new line of patches independently of the others. It's interesting though that it interprets a lot of distortion into all of these patches. It's not like the breathy thing that I imported. Maybe it's because of the OTT, I don't know. Anyway, I want to use the sound. Actually, now let's get a little more adventurous and try a new melody. Okay, I like it. It's kind of an FX sound that sounds a bit like you are in a space shuttle and you are currently using the lift. There is a big lift that is meant to transport heavy containers, but you are now on this lift and you record it with your field recorder. Now I want to know what it is like to dial in atonality. Oh, I guess I have to dial in the mod wheel as well then. Okay, now we can start modulating this lift and find out where it can bring us then. So let's start off very simple. No atonality bends, just the mod wheel intensity. Okay, that's nice. Now what can we do with atonality here? What if we go down? Almost nothing changed. Okay, I guess when you don't go high with a mod wheel, the atonality also doesn't go too crazy. Sweet. I really like the sound. Again, this is probably a sound that I would bounce out later. But yeah, for now I will just go on with the next point that I have in my notes, which is... So I just decided that I wanna cover the other topics that I had in mind for Synplant 2 some other time, because some of them might require a little bit more of a complicated setup. For example, I read that Synplant 2 has MPE support, but at the moment I'm here in Bitwig and Bitwig doesn't have pitch bend support, so I can't use my Xen plugin on Synplant 2 here. I would have to start from scratch in a Cubase project, and I'm really not in the mood to do that now. I just want to enjoy Synplant 2's main features now. But yeah, that's something that's also somewhere in Synplant 2 and I'm looking forward to explore it. This is one of the coolest features of all time. I know some of these sounds are very far away from whatever you are putting into the plugin, but still I think more plugins should come with a feature like that, and I'm saying that even without having the closest idea how this can be accomplished. Something AI, blah blah blah, but the thing is, usually AI has its limits. Sometimes when you're making certain inputs into an AI, the AI just responds to you something like, oh, I was not designed for that, you cannot do that, But this plugin tries anyway. If the sound is very challenging, then it tries anyway, and then I guess it just comes up with sounds that are not very close to the original, but at least it tries, and it tries as hard as it can, and I find this pretty cool. If we extrapolate this idea to other plugins, then this could mean that we could even like apply this idea to different synthesizers or effects, and I think this could revolutionize the art of sound design in some sense, because sound design is something that can be interpreted in exactly two different ways. One of these ways is coming up with crazy sounds, usually by making insane mud pies with feedback loops and all that. And definition 2, the more professional definition, which I'm usually not as fond of, but it does exist and I respect it, where you try to recreate sounds, either natural sounds or other synthetic sounds that you heard somewhere, and you recreate them in order to reference them pop culturally. For example, when you are making sounds for a film, a lot of Foley sounds and all that in this process. This just makes me wonder if this feature was in a lot of different effects, then you could kinda just tell a plugin, hey, I don't know how to use you, I'm not the best at using this effect or synthesizer, but you could still try to give me this sound. And like if we could apply this logic to all of our synthesizers and effects, then this might be huge. So at some point this could even evolve into a DAW feature, I think, so that the plugins themselves don't have to have this feature, but a DAW can just say, look, I will make you an effect chain for this sound with the effects that you have in your effects folders. You just have to wait a few hours until I've rendered all the solutions. That's something that I could imagine for the future. And yeah, this is the beginning of this evolution of this new feature, and it's already executed so well. Still, there is so much ahead for us to explore. I think that's just exciting, and that's why I think that this plugin is the best plugin of 2023 so far.